Hey Nick, can you hear us?
Just still feels a little too far off. Yeah, about another foot. About another foot. You're trying to get to the. Is that what you're trying to connect to?
I just like to have my agenda.
Let's do it. All right, it is May 7th at 2:45 PM and I'm going to call to order the city council study session. Can I have a roll call?
Counselor Bosmans,
Present.
Mayor Buell,
Here?
Counselor Woodruff,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi, and Counselor Youssef.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great.
All right, so first item up, we have affordability and economic opportunity.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have our Community Development Monthly Report by Scott Shine.
Good afternoon, counselors. So the purpose of these monthly updates is to really focus on operational items and kind of hit on bigger projects and sort of outcomes that have been accomplished in the past month. But a lot of the things I'll touch on this afternoon relate to a few things that are on the regular meeting agenda. So I'll point that out and just make that connection for you. But there's a number of big milestones at the regular meeting tonight that we're very excited about. Related to economic development, housing, and our general work with community partners such as Durango Mesa. So I'll highlight those as they come up as I feature some operational updates from the past month. So when we look at our development services, we've primarily given you numbers related to building permitting and inspections. We're going to step back from that sort of quantitative report today and talk to you a little bit about some shifts that we've had in our building permitting services. First, I'll just highlight two major projects that we've worked on. The Downtown Durango Hotel, as you may have seen, is currently being stacked on the parking garage. So that's been a long ongoing project. It's great to finally see some meaningful progress on that. Our building division planning have worked very closely with DFPD and other partners to make sure that's done in a way that doesn't disrupt the neighborhood. It's a very big project close to a lot of residences. So we've tried to be really responsive in managing that construction activity, but I encourage you to go by there if you haven't been there recently. It's impressive to see these units being stacked. We also issued a foundation permit for the new fire station. You've seen the demolition work that's been going on there. We have some final details to work out around drainage and sort of a shared project between the fire protection district and the city to address some drainage issues on that site, but we were able to get out ahead of that, issue them a foundation permit so they can continue to work while we sort out those details. In regards to building permitting, this is one of our most forward-facing services we provide. Obviously, people are calling us for plan reviews and inspections throughout their construction timeline. As you know, Alvy Moore retired, our chief building inspector, for 30 years. We did have some overlap with the new chief inspector, and that individual didn't last very long, unfortunately. So they chose to leave and go back to the private sector. So we've scrambled a bit and we've reassigned some staff, and we've also engaged with a third party that has a local presence for inspections. And then we're doing fully digital plan reviews. We've tried very hard to communicate that out to our contractors and customers. I think that word has gotten out. And we're getting caught up on plan reviews, but there was a gap there in services, and we are now interviewing for a replacement for that chief building inspector. And we envision keeping on that third party for a while after we hire a new inspector to help us keep up with the workload. Spring is historically our busiest time for building permits. So it's good to have that partner contractor to help us manage that. The other benefit from having a third party help us is we're going to have a very clear sense of the time demands given the volume of permits that we have. So for 30 years, we've really managed with one building inspector, and a city our size with the amount of development activity we have, that's kind of unheard of. When we look at peer communities, when we look at best practices from other communities, we're realizing that we're going to need to bolster our services there in order to meet the expectations of our customers. So we'll have numbers, we'll know how long those plan reviews are taking, the volume of inspections that we need to keep up with. So we'll look forward to sharing that with management and council as we have a clear picture of those demands. The other thing that'll be before you tonight relates to how we assess fees for building permits and how we value construction activity. That's something that has not been updated in about a decade. We talked to you about it last year on needing to update that valuation. And so there's a resolution that'll be brought before you tonight to accomplish that. We've tried to do that in a way where modernizing this fee process doesn't inhibit other goals that we have as far as affordable housing or economic development. And so you'll see we've factored that in with the effort to give us some leeway with projects we want to really incentivize, but also, again, modernizing our fee structure to really, and we're not even fully reflecting the value of the services we're providing. We're just trying to catch up a little bit more and close the gap between the cost of the permit and the value of the services we're providing. We're also still on track to launch in July our online permitting system, fully digital plan reviews, fully online payment, a portal that shows project status throughout the process. So we're really excited about that. We have an interdepartmental team working to create that and launch that module. The next couple of slides were included in your packet just to give you a sense of or something to reference. I'm not going to cover them in a lot of detail. It's mainly a status update for you on the Residences at Durango project. As you know, it's 120 units, a mix of 72 renovated units in the existing hotel building and then 48 in a new building in the back. So again, I'm going to go through these quickly. Feel free to circle back and ask me any clarifying questions at the end. Quick timeline here. One of the most kind of exciting parts of this update is that we expect the renovated units in the hotel building to be done and ready for occupancy by the end of this year, which is ahead of schedule from what we originally thought. Into first quarter of 2025, they'll finish up the new building in the back and then get those done. They're anticipating the first 3 months of 2025, but having that initial wave of units be ready by the end of the year is a great step. Again, just a reference slide for you here about the mix of units, the rent that they will charge, and what that means as far as affordability for area median income and different sizes of households. So feel free to reference that. If you get questions about the project, I won't dig into that too much. And then just some pictures of the progress. Up top, you have the rooms in the hotel being renovated. Really quality work. Finish is going to be included in the units in the old hotel building, and then you can see a lot of the earthwork being done, the retaining walls, and the foundation poured for the new building. So great progress there by TWG. We have a group coming from Park City the end of the month, and they've specifically asked to tour that project, understand more about hotel conversions. Hotel conversions are all over the place right now as far as quick wins for affordable housing. So I know Eva's getting a lot of calls about this project, and we're always being asked to share information about, things we've learned and how we structured that. Lastly, related to economic development efforts, we've talked to you in the past about the City Inclusive Entrepreneurship Program and the work that has been done there. Just a couple quick points about how that's led to this creation of a food business guide for entrepreneurs and small business owners in the food space. This was also a little bit eye-opening. That process identified 76 steps for launching a restaurant in Durango. 76, Dave, you probably know this. Unique steps, touch points from the state, the county, DFPD, and the city. So looking at that and realizing we have some opportunities there to gain some efficiencies, the La Plata Food Equity Coalition has hired a bilingual business navigator. So particularly focused on people who don't speak English as their primary language. That individual is helping 16 new businesses navigate that process. So that's one angle to try and hit that long, complicated process. The other is we've done some cross-departmental meetings related to our business license process. We've mapped out that process. We understand a little bit better about where the choke points are, and we're working to make some improvements both from a software perspective as well as just a communication perspective among the entities that review business licenses. So that's been a great effort with the clerk's office. Finance has been involved, and DFPD as well, in trying to understand and map that business license process. You'll hear tonight, we're proposing to set up a first of its kind for Durango economic development incentive policy. That's informed by a lot of this work as well, is where are the leverage points, where can we, yes, maybe make some direct either tax rebates or cash contributions, but there's a lot of other ways that we can incentivize businesses and streamline that process to get them up and running. So another foreshadowing of what's to come later at the regular meeting, a major milestone in our economic development efforts to get some guidance from council on how to incentivize desirable businesses. Lastly, we were able to host a little cookout with our new neighbors at the Carnegie Building at the beginning of May. We had a great time with PIO, parking, IT, I think records was there. So I just wanted to share some of the work we're doing to kind of build that team dynamic among different departments in the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott? All right, thanks, Scott. Next up, we have diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hello, Mayor and Council, Kyle Delamora, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Cross-Functional Team Staff Liaison. Here with a quick update on last month and this month's city efforts in DEI. For our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement update, we have the final draft crafted. We did go back and forth with our focus group on feedback, and the team feels like we've crafted a land acknowledgement that can really represent the city. We're excited to share it with you soon. Our next step will be the action plan development, and we want to figure out the best ways to implement that through all the city departments. Upcoming staff events, we hosted our April Neurodiversity Lunch and Learn panel. We had 50 employees attend virtually and in person, so that was a great success. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and our Employee Assistance Program partners are hosting 3 internal webinars. How do I seek help? Opening up about mental health and handling a family crisis. And just as a reminder, the EAP program is available to all employees and their dependents to seek confidential assistance in dealing with stressful personal, financial, or work-related situations. And finally, for our department spotlight, we're highlighting the Durango Police Department and their patch project. The PD started creating special patches, which are sold to raise money for special causes. In the past, they've done pink ones for breast cancer awareness, special patches for Halloween and Snowdown, and they raise money for the local 100 Club. So this year for April's Neurodiversity Awareness Month, they created a special patch to raise money for autism. And all the money they raised went to the ARC of Southwest Colorado, which is an organization that supports and empowers community members with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's all I got. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Kyle? All right, thank you. Next up, Effective Infrastructure Network. We'll start with Transportation Department Monthly Report, Sarah Hill.
Good afternoon, Council. Sarah Hill, Transportation Director. And we'll start with our transit ridership update. We've had another month of ridership growth. Oops. Here we go. I know that these numbers and charts can get pretty bland, but just remember that every number represents a person that got a ride to where they needed to go. So thank you for your ongoing support, and I'll keep bringing these boring numbers to you. We had, through the end of March, we gave 107,925 rides compared to last year's just over 97,000 rides during the same time frame. So that's an 11% increase in ridership in the first quarter of this year. Then in the bottom right-hand corner, I have the Durango evening ridership. And in March, we gave 1,333 rides. We actually just got our April numbers in too. So spoiler alert, we have 1,500 rides in April. So every month is increasing. And then I'm highlighting our opportunity bus route here at the top. This is our door-to-door service that's specifically for seniors and people with disabilities. And we give an average of about 246 rides on the opportunity bus every month, but we have the capacity to offer many more. And we're finding that more seniors are utilizing the service than people that are living with disabilities. So we're going to be spending the next couple months outreaching and making sure that that this service is known in the community as an option. And then we broke out the trip purposes here, just so you get an idea of how people are using the service, the largest being medical trips, followed by employment and personal trips, and then shopping and recreational. And then in other transit news, we have partnered with the police department to have a dedicated police services technician at the transit center. Unfortunately, one of the main comments that we get is a fear of waiting for the bus at the transit center or parents not being comfortable with their kids on the bus. And that perception of unsafety definitely has an impact on whether people feel comfortable riding or not. So our transit PSTs now provide a full-time presence at the transit center. They're also doing random patrols on our transit routes. We're having really good response, really good feedback about that position. And they are really excellent at de-escalating situations. Just yesterday, we're able to bring, kind of de-elevate a situation that could have risen to an arrest. They maintained safety of transit staff, transit clients, and did a really good job. So that's been a great, successful program, and want to thank the PD for their support of that. This is transit grant season, everyone's favorite time of year. So we have been spending a lot of time on that in my office. So I did want to put it on the update of what we've been working on. I submitted 6 transit capital and operating grant requests. So if awarded, they would fund projects like transit shelters, lighting and benches, vehicle replacements, additional vans to operate Durango, and then an operating grant request to expand microtransit service. And just to note, I purchased a bus, the last route bus that we purchased in 2022 was $82,000. The exact same bus this year is $185,000. So, and that is due to supply chain issues and just demands industry-wide. But 125% increases, that's a tough one to absorb. And then I wanted to highlight one of our drivers, Richard Morales. He was selected to be the State of Colorado Operator of the Month for the month of April. He's worked with us for over a year. We had a lot of comments on our last year's ridership survey about his customer service, how kind and helpful he is. He helps us translate all of our materials to Spanish in the transportation department as well. And I just wanted to recognize him, and glad that he got a little recognition at the state level. And then upcoming, starting June 1st, we will be launching the Zero Fare Summer once again. So that's free transit from June 1st to August 31st, thanks to your dedicated discretionary use of the lodger's tax. Durango evening services will still be $2 a ride because it's still in the pilot phase and we're capturing information about revenue for future planning. But all other routes are going to be free all summer. Let's see, and then we'll move on to some progress highlights for some of the multimodal CIP projects. Junction Street traffic calming is going really well. We're advancing to 60% design based on the community feedback. We are installing a 12-foot shared use path on Junction. It's the north side of Junction from 2nd up to Dalla Mountain Park. And we are going to be working with the Streets Division to go to bid this fall for a spring 2025 construction. So that'll put the shared use path, that'll install shared use path and also reconstruct the road. The North Main ADA improvements, we've reached 30% design for the full corridor, and that's sidewalks and transit stops from 17th Street up to Animas View Drive. And we're beginning outreach to individual property owners that'll be impacted. And then we'll host a citywide public meeting in June. For downtown's next steps, we were awarded the Revitalize Main Street pilot project grant, and that will be implementing as soon as we get through contracting and procurement. So we'll have some pilot implementation of downtown's next steps installed this summer to be getting feedback from the community on. We will be, before moving on to the 60% design, we're going to be doing a very robust engagement session this summer. We're going to be taking surveys on the street. We're going to be mailing surveys. We're going to have online surveys and a public meeting as well. Where are we? College and 8 Safety Project. This closed for construction bids last month. We received one bid that was for $4.9 million. That was significantly over our engineering estimate. A couple reasons for that. Almost over $700,000 was mobilization costs because all the subcontractors were non-local. And then there was 1.2 million bid for the streets portion of the mill and overlay. We have worked with CDOT. We feel pretty confident in rebidding this September. The 550-160 project is going to be wrapped up, so a lot of our local contractors will be available and bring those mobilization costs down. September bidding, fall bidding tends to be lower prices because contractors are planning out their year in advance. We have an opportunity to secure additional grant revenue through the Safe Routes to School project. And then also kind of looking at the silver lining, it allows the County Road 250, 251 project and North College Drive to get further along so that we are not having, dueling construction sites on either end of College Drive. And then Midtown Safety and Connectivity Project, we received the 60% design plans that have both alignments for Malfunction Junction. We will be reviewing those as staff and then taking those to the community this summer for public meeting and also resident outreach. And later this summer, council can expect us to come with the results of the community feedback that we received, the budget, and a staff recommendation, and we'll move forward with the design scenario for Malfunction Junction. A quick programmatic update for multimodal. We had hosted the Riverview Bike Rodeo. That's a Safe Routes to School program. Over 400 students impacted. We partnered with Devo, Gray Matters, and the police department, and 16 students learned to ride a bike for the first time. So that was exciting. Over the last several years, the multimodal division continues to hear that there's a need for increased education on bike safety and rules of the road. So we did make the investment of getting our multimodal specialist certified by the League of American Cyclists. She's a league certified instructor now. And as a lead certified instructor, she's an ambassador for Safe Educated Biking, and she can teach a variety of smart cycling classes. So our multimodal specialist, Courtney Child, hosted a 2-part smart cycling class in April, and she focused on Colorado state law, principles of traffic law, lane and intersection positioning, and how to navigate bike facilities in Durango. And then finally, this is my last slide, just a quick parking update. Our limited free parking program is returning this summer as well. So that's June 1st through August 31st, free parking west of Narrow Gauge on 7th, 8th, and 9th Street. This is also funded through the discretionary portion of the lodger's tax. And the purpose of that is to redistribute the high demand spaces downtown on Main and to alleviate some of the parking burden of downtown employees. And that was a pretty successful program last year, and we're happy to offer that again in conjunction with the free transit. The parking division is working on advancing some of the recommendations in the parking master plan that was adopted last year. And 2 of those that we're carrying forward this year are a pay by cell option at our meters. And then we're going to pilot a multi-space kiosk at the transit center parking lot. So that will be implemented later this year. And I'll provide updates along the way. And lastly, a third project that was recommended in the parking plan that also aligns with a lot of community requests that we receive is a neighborhood parking permit program in neighborhoods east of downtown. So my staff is working with Clancy and Walker Consultants. We're going to be hosting our first public meeting on June 25th to determine whether there is a need for managed parking, better understand where the parking issues are east of the central business district, and determine if there's support from residents for a neighborhood parking program. And I will hand it over to Allison.
Thank you, Sarah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Allison Baker, Public Works Director. Oops. Yep. Public Works activities are in support of the strategic plan goal, effective infrastructure network. In the utilities division this month, we treated approximately 79 million gallons of water. And to give you a reference point, the tank on the top of the hill near City Market is a 3 million gallon tank. So 26 of those tanks equivalent is what was treated, just to kind of give you a sense of scale. The water and wastewater treatment volumes were slightly higher than average in March, possibly due to low snow volumes and warmer temperatures than usual. Big completion of the 440,000 filter to waste capital project. This was an 11-year project, so it was definitely a woohoo to get it finished. It was very complex, and getting it planned, designed, and pilot tested to completion was significant. Irrigation systems came online in March, causing water demand to increase significantly. Raw water irrigation to Fort Lewis and Hillcrest Golf Course began in March, and that's 24 million gallons. Also, over at the wastewater treatment plant at Santa Rita, 51 million gallons were treated in March. Our system created 24,000 kilowatt hours of waste recovery energy, which is enough to power more than 2 single-family homes for an entire year. We sent 320 tons of non-toxic processed waste solids to landfill for disposal. We've also received both State of Colorado and CDC Excellence in Fluoridation Awards every year since 2012. State of Colorado Award over the years since 1992. Requires extreme diligence on the water treatment staff part to accomplish that. The collections and distribution section of the utilities. Water distribution replaced 31 water meters, continued the lead and copper service line inventory analysis. Lead and copper is the short name for the state requirement. CDPHE is added to our responsibility for identifying lead and copper service lines between now and the replacement beginning in 2027. So that's a big new initiative, and we're getting going on that. 40 valves operated. We've got some new equipment that turns the valve stem so that it opens and closes, and we know in advance when they're going to break. Increasing repair parts inventory. This reduces our reliance on the supply chain and facilitates emergency response capability. Setting up a new program to send out expired backflow test notifications that had not existed. Oops, back. In sewer, we obtained certification for performing video inspections of sewer lines. We're also replacing missing manhole lids, obviously important, and clearing sewer main obstructions that have been found in those inspections. The snow ended a little earlier than is typical this year, so Streets has moved on to street maintenance activities, including street sweeping and pothole repairs. We're doing alley maintenance and paint striping, some street sign replacement and repair. We're utilizing the new asphalt recycling machine that was purchased last year to produce 10 tons of hot asphalt mix from millings that were obtained during our construction process. We use those for pothole patching, producing better longevity than cold mix would do. And we're continuing routine cleaning and inspections of our stormwater system, which is a really great sign. We haven't been able to do that in the 3 years that I've been here because we weren't staffed, and we are fully staffed. So very good news. In trash and recycle, operations and maintenance, the Baylor rehabilitation was completed in March. 80 trash trucks went to the landfill. 12 semi truckloads of baled compacted recyclable material was diverted from landfill to recycle processing. This was also catch up from the Baylor rehab work. We continue to update repairs from current O&M projects. adding new commercial accounts. Durango Recycle Center continues to perform well. However, there was an 8% decrease in public drop-offs versus March of 2023 due to the closure of the facility. And we added a new commercial truck to the fleet this year. Joey found a great deal, and we didn't have to pay 125%, so very fortunate. The Capital Improvement Construction Management Group, name change, and projects continued into March. Pickleball outdoor courts expected to complete at the end of June. 911 HVAC building is having installation of HVAC. The 32nd Street Stormwater Detention Pond is approximately 60% complete, and the sewer plant water line replacement was about 95% complete. Projects out to bid in March, 8th and College, Road Diet, and Sarah already gave away the results that it was a higher bid that we'll be rebidding later in the year. The Florida Outfall will be requesting reallocation in May. Will come to City Council from FAB. Santa Rita Water Reclamation Facility, the primary clarifier liner bid is due in May. So several bids coming in. Projects to start or that started in April, Lake Night Horse Entrance, Chapman Hill Ski Area, 250, 251 reconstruction, and North College reconstruction. And over in engineering, reviews continue for Durango Fire Protection District Station Number 2. They received site plan approval. REI Co-op, Mesa Verde Estates, Wilson Gulch Road Extension, and many more ongoing. Collaboration with construction management, reviewed and approved traffic control plans for 32nd Street Stormwater Basin construction and 250, 251 reconstruction and North College reconstruction, obviously high traffic areas. And the Block 54, probably better known as the Gable House Alley, drainage design is in progress, and it will be a reusable design concept that we can use in other very flat locations for alley drainage. Permits, 36 permits were issued for excavation, stormwater, building, right-of-way, and wall construction. And inspections are going, engineering inspections are going at a pace. Downtown Durango Hotel, Mercy Medical Office Building, REI Co-op, Grandview area, Crater Lot 1, Animas Cliffs, Miles Wild, and many more. That brings us to the airport and Tony's report.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank
Oh,
you.
we have a question.
Sorry, real quick. Allison, have we considered using some of those biosolids in agricultural use?
We have previously done that and currently have not found a supplier that will work with us on that. We have looked for land purchase options and working with several different haulers to consider that opportunity, because obviously everything that goes to the landfill has trucking costs as well as the disposal costs. So we're looking for ways to take advantage of that, but currently there's nothing that is workable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a
Next up,
question.
Aviation
Sorry.
Department. Oh,
Can you
was
hear
that
me?
Counselor Bosman's?
Yes, it's me. I had a little question. Thank you, Allison, for that update. I noticed that the amount of water treated in March was 78 million gallons, and that's about 2.5 million gallons per day. And if I remember correctly, we have about 14 million gallons a day of supply, as well as an equal amount of treatment capability. And how does that volume that you treated in March compare to prior years? Is it the same, less, or more? Just to see.
It's slightly less than average.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Good afternoon, Council. Tony Vicari, Aviation Director at the Durango La Plata County Airport, here to provide a short monthly update on airport operations. Quick run through on activity numbers. These are all through the first quarter of the year. April numbers are partially in, but not fully finalized just yet. So airline enplanements or passenger traffic is up a robust 15% year to date over a record-breaking 2023. So starting the year off very strong in terms of passenger traffic. That's actually being done on only a 7% seat capacity increase. So it means that demand is very high, and therefore our load factors or percentage of seats filled are nearing 80%, which is an unusually high metric for the wintertime, which is typically our lowest period of overall demand throughout the year at the airport. Parking volume is generally in line, up about 10%. Rental car contract days are outpacing the overall growth slightly at plus 17%. Terminal concession revenue is up 28%, largely driven by expanded revenue driven on the food and beverage side. General aviation or private aircraft landed weight down slightly through the first quarter, and air freight volume down slightly as well. Looking specifically at the passenger traffic numbers, as I mentioned, we're up 15% year to date, so a very strong start. April numbers, as I mentioned, not yet finalized, but it looks like they're going to land about plus 10% over 2023. So continuing the double-digit annualized growth. Of note, the first 4 months of 2024 are all going to represent record-breaking individualized months. So the busiest January of all time, busiest February, so on and so forth, or 4 for 4 so far through the early part of the year. So definitely seeing strong demand. On the project front, got a full list of projects here. I won't go through them all, just highlight a few of them. First and foremost, the terminal expansion project, Phase 1A. All 3 of the councilors here in person today were also present at the ribbon cutting on the 10th of April. So thank you for your attendance. We were very excited to open that new space. So far been very positively received by the public, as well as United Airlines and occupying the gate, as well as the amenities involved there. Of note, Phase 1A is not quite yet complete. If you go back, you'll still see the temporary construction wall now move to the west wall of the old United Gate area. We're currently demoing existing restrooms and replacing those with 2 family restrooms and a nursing mother's room. Those are under construction. We're pouring concrete today and expect to hopefully have those open by July, which will be the substantial completion of Phase 1A. Which just takes us into Phase 1B, just as a reminder, is a much larger overall project for us. On that particular project, our guaranteed maximum price with Nunn Construction, the general contractor on the project, was recently finalized and submitted to the FAA as support for a large discretionary grant through their airport improvement program. We're anticipating that grant will be issued sometime this summer, and that is the only remaining unknown financial piece associated with Phase 1B and preventing us from executing the formal groundbreaking and construction agreement with Nunn. So therefore, we're anticipating that we'll be able to break ground on that in late summer or early fall, pending the grant issuance that we're anticipating from the FAA. The council can expect to see a couple action items on the terminal come forward in the coming weeks to month. One will be an official adjustment of the budget. This was previously discussed last fall, actually, in 2023. We had to update our project budget slightly to accommodate some increases we saw through the cost estimating and design process on that project. Nothing has changed since last fall. We were just waiting until we had a finalized guaranteed maximum price to adjust that budget. Those additional overage costs are going to be managed through additional grant funding through the FAA without a major impact to the overall project funding proportions. So we're excited to move on that. And then the other thing the council will see is a formal state infrastructure bank loan agreement for the airport to execute financing that will be paid for and debt service covered by airport operating revenues moving forward. The application was approved by council last December, and the formal loan agreement will be coming back forward to council in the coming next handful of meetings. A couple other projects I would just highlight. We're currently expanding, or not expanding, but paving and expanding our upper overflow parking lot. So as the terminal grows, we're continuing to see pressures on parking. So we're currently in the final stages of emptying out that existing parking lot, which is currently unpaved, and it'll be paved by a local contractor here starting on the 15th of May, so next week. Looking forward to that. It's about a 60-day construction period. During that time frame, we've noted to the public that overall parking capacity is going to be limited at the airport. We still have quite a number of parking spaces. Everyone has been and will be accommodated, but we're encouraging the public to arrive early because folks are having to park quite a bit further away from the terminal than they're used to in our current configurations. And then lastly, just highlight, we have a couple of projects that'll be starting off soon. We'll be doing some concrete joint seal on our commercial apron where aircraft park. That is kicking off here shortly. And then also we closed bids today on a replacement tank for a 1960s era raw water tank at the airport. We're looking forward to moving forward with that project. And here's a couple of photos. All three of you were there at the event. We had the ribbon cutting for phase 1A back on the 10th of April. There you can see Mayor Buell in action with the giant scissors and the ribbon. Well done on the execution there. Perfectly timed photo. And to close out, just short updates on airline route networks. No major changes since last presented. You can see the May airline flight schedule. United remains stable with 5 daily flights to Denver. No significant changes on their flight patterns. After a few months of 2 bi-daily service to Dallas, American is increasing that back to 3 daily in line with increased traffic. In June, we'll see that increase to 4 daily as they continue to ramp up towards our peak season, which is summer for the airline traffic side. American continues to fly 2 daily to Phoenix currently here in May. Just as a reminder, 2 of those 5 flights to Denver continue to happen on large 126 to 150 seat Airbus A319 or A320 equipment. And then this summer, starting just a couple of weeks from now on Memorial Weekend, United will bring back Houston service on Saturdays and Sundays through the preponderance of the summer. And we'll also see a little bit of mainline activity, larger Airbus aircraft from American to Dallas on one of their daily Saturday routes starting this summer as well. And with that, I'll take any questions. Otherwise, we'll hand it off to the next set of presenters.
Any questions for Tony? Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, next up, enhanced livability and sense of place. We'll start with Parks and Recreation. Scott.
Good afternoon, Scott McLean with Parks and Recreation. I'd like to take opportunity this afternoon, sort of kind of our typical monthly report to provide an update on the Smart 160 trail. And then there's been a number of questions and it's been a while since we had an opportunity to provide an update. So we'll start with just some general background history on it and then kind of get to where we're at today. So late 1990s, 2000, when the initial concept of a bike pedestrian route that followed the Highway 160 corridor was put out there. Initially was from Durango to Bayfield. It's about 2010 when the city really started looking at being involved with that with CDOT and pulled it back to a connection from Durango to Three Springs, focusing on the connection to Three Springs and then also keeping it into city limits where we have the ability, making that our priority. So this is kind of an overall map. The Animas River Trail is in white. This is a Home Depot over here. The red on the far right side is a southern open space in Three Springs, which has trails that wind up through the development. The hospital here in the top right corner. Farmington Hill. So what we're trying to connect is from essentially River Road, the intersection of River Road, Highway 160, to the southern open space. So the kind of rust colored line is the proposed alignment that we have at this point. The blue is an alternative route through Gilliland's property. The property colors, the red that's shown is city-owned land. The green is BLM. The yellow is La Plata County where they gravel mine. And then the blue is C&J Gravel's operations here owned by John Gilliland. And then operations are also mining up into the BLM land north of Gilliland's property. Looked at a number of different route alignments overall from A to B through the years. I think initially in 2010 with CDOT, we partnered and looked at some alternatives. And then again in 2015 on kind of this crossing of the highway and really looked at everything from Highway 3, where that ties in at the Carbon Junction Trailhead, all the way out to the interchange. Kept coming back to kind of this general area, looked at an underpass that came underneath where Wilson Gulch drainage is and trying to get through that culvert. The EIS environmental impact statement that was completed for the CDOT project declared that as a wildlife access route for elk. And so we've been pushed out of that. We've looked at some overpass alternatives of the highway, had some concerns there with coming down through the Trussell Lane neighborhood, some pushback. So this is the route we've ended up with. We're coming up with a underpass proposed for Home Depot coming across the Sale Barn Trailhead. It's kind of the long-term build out, looking initially at an at-grade crossing. And the decision was made a couple of years ago to really focus on the connection from here to here. The underpass would be a big ticket item. Let's focus on the trail. And then at some point in the future, if we can make the underpass happen, that would be lower priority. But there's a light pedestrian access there at River Road. So coming up across Sale Barn, series of switchbacks that get you up to railroad grade. And then this line follows railroad grade to the point here where we've got two options. The blue line pretty much stays on railroad grade until we get north to close to the interchange, where the grade allows us to drop elevation, tie into trail that's there. The red would drop down cross slope to the drainage that's right next to the highway. So really kind of looked at both of those alternatives from the beginning. Had some concerns with the lower elevation. From a trail standpoint, we felt like the railroad grade made more sense. Property owner had some concern with access coming in and off the highway at the lower access. So he also had some interest in the upper elevation trail. We went through quite a process with our engineering department. So, sorry, just backed up there. On looking at the different options and trying to make that work. So I think a couple of concerns. I'll get into the next slide. Maybe jump back here and talk existing pieces of trail that have been completed. We worked with CDOT when they built the interchange here to get about 1/3 of a mile that was constructed as part of the CBROT project, but worked with them on the alignment and what the details should look like for that. And then about 2016, 17, we did the section across the Crater property, and with Wilson Gulch Road, the Crater property getting platted, that opened up opportunity for us to get open space along the drainage there. We got a grant that paid for probably about 80% of the trail. So we've got about a mile built from southern open space to the west side of the interchange project. And then we've got about 2 miles left to connect from that point back to River Road. So blowing up here a little bit again. River Road's here, the CDOT interchange. Properties that we're crossing with the trail would be the BLM city parcel. This blue is owned by John Gilliland. This section of trail, he eventually is planning to mine gravel extract on the top portion of that. The alignment we have here stays out of that way, so I think that's workable with him. The access to La Plata County comes up through the switchback, which you can see from the highway here. So we do have a crossing point existing. I'll talk about that a little bit in a second. Another city parcel, and then the parcel that we're trying to figure out where easement can be that works for the property owner. So property owner concerns, it's got a lot of things that have been changing there over the last couple of years. One is switching his access from Highway 160 to the roundabout. 2 is just what happens with his existing access off the highway. He definitely wants to maintain his ability to continue to run what he sees as a long-term business there, that he's got a number, sounds like decade plus of gravel mining that he plans to do there. And then I think long-term trying to set up so that as he mines, he's setting up parcels that they can be sold for development. So kind of a simplified sketch of where we're at. The gray line shows kind of the access off the roundabout. This has definitely been one of the areas of contention or that we've run into a roadblock in, and he's trying to set this up so that he has some lower parcels in the future that could provide some development along the highway, and then also lots up here on the top that would be set up for development. So we've spent some time looking with engineering and Durango Fire on what the requirements for that road would be. And it kind of comes down to, well, what ends up ultimately getting built on those lots, and that depending on use, square footage, that changes requirements for the grade for the road, the width of the road. All of that's built on a cross slope. So you've got a road that would access the upper parcel up top, trying to get the trail in between coming through the elevation, and then a road that gets down to the bottom. And as road gets wider, that all kind of, there's road, retaining wall, steep slope, retaining or trail, that all starts to impact. So kind of came to conclusion through that exercise that he wanted to see. He laid out survey stakes, started doing that earthwork this last summer, fall, to get a visual on that. Approached us kind of end of the year, just with concern about how that set him up, where that put him, and asked us to look again at this lower route. So that's where we've been the last couple of months, is doing some analysis again, which just puts us in the drainage or some other issues that we have to work with there. Some of the advantages that property owner sees, I think realizes about, he's supportive of the trail, has been supportive of city parks and recreation projects. So it feels genuinely like he wants to make this happen, but wants to make sure that it works for his long-term interest as well. But sees the economic benefit for having a trail adjacent to properties. And then also there is some interest he has in city parcel here. Sorry. So with the gray, one of the issues we have down here is the access across the trail, crossing the access to the county landfill. He has suggested that this access that the county uses also goes through his parcel that he wants to mine. If that part of the agreement could be a route that as he gets this road further developed, the county could access here, which then eliminates this crossing point for us, which is beneficial. This helps him out as well. And then by having the access come off the top, that kind of opens up some more opportunity for us on the lower side here. So we've gone through some just on these two alternatives and big picture comparison. I think just to break it down in a matter of time here, the two big issues that we see is the lower route is a lot of slope being built into a cross slope. So we've got about 1,000 feet of wall there. Some of that wall is up to 10 feet tall, where the blue route is about 400 feet of retaining wall that's about 4 feet tall. So it's going to be a significant difference in some cost of construction there. And then we're building along the drainage, which means that we need to provide for the floodplain, the drainage, wetlands, which we'll do and as possible. So I think through this, it feels like either alternative will work. Next steps. John has been out of the country here for a couple of weeks. Gets back the end of this week. We've agreed to figure out a time to meet once he's back. So I think taking the information we have on the two alternatives now, go back to him, see what his comfort level is, if that provides a direction on the alignment. If he gives us a thumbs up and says, yeah, this lower alignment's going to work, I think we can start to move forward with that. My guess is there'll be a little bit of back and forth between he gets it, we talk about it, he gives it to his engineers, and they kind of look at it as well. But once we get that agreement, that puts us in a position to formalize the easement agreement. The BLM, CDOT both have a process for right of way, so we need to go through their process, work with the Plant County to make sure that their access to their lot is maintained, and then also finish up right about a 65% on the plans for the western, say, half of the trail. So we would need to finish that up, and at the same time be working on, once we have a direction on where that would be across his property. If he still has concerns with the alignment, I think we continue to look at options. I think a couple of the ones that we've talked about in the past is a temporary easement across land that we could do an interim soft surface trail. In the past, it's been concerned about the access road and how that would interact with construction traffic there. As he gets his new road built in, that may open up some opportunity. I think the other thing we may be able to look at is if we could get some agreement with them on maybe not an A or B alignment, but our start and end point for those trails, that then and then come to a future agreement on which alignment that allows us to build like a phase one and get to that point. So I would say from here, I think next month we can provide an update on a conversation we have with them and go from there. So any questions?
Thank you for that report. It was very intense because we've been trying to work on this for a long time. Okay, so for the development across that, the gravel pit property. Okay, so he wants to develop lots there. Does that have to go through our planning commission for him to develop those lots?
My understanding of where it's at, so he is currently in the county. My understanding is that he develops, he will want to come into the city to tie into city utilities. At that point, would need to annex and follow the city process.
I'm just thinking of ways we can have some chips here in the pot. So if he develops, he's going to need our utilities.
Correct.
Okay, so that's one chip, because this has been on the plans for a long time, and you know, sometimes we need more cooperation from landowners to provide for our community. Maybe that could be something you could push forward. But thank you for your report.
Yes.
I assume those front lots or those lower lots are residential, zoned residential, or is it all mixed use and commercial? Because there's homes on that.
There's homes there existing. I mean, he's talked more about commercial or hotel or something other than residential. Yes.
Okay, but there's currently zoned residential.
That I don't know if it'll be in the county. I can check on that again.
Okay. So say this happens, you know, in a week or so where you meet up and he is like, yeah, everything looks good.
Yeah.
What sort of kind of general timeline do you think to kind of get through like the easement process and kind of going through some of the formal
I
engineering?
think the
things?
steps we have with the easement, engineering, and then working through the other agencies to get permits. I would say optimistic, everything goes smooth, would probably be about 4 or 5 months.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Scott.
Any other questions from counselors online? All right, thanks, Scott. Next up, we have Public Safety Department monthly report.
Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Bryce Current, the Chief of Police. I don't know if mine's going to be as intense because it's statistics. But as a new chief, I think it's important to share my vision, our vision on reporting statistics first before I go into it. So there's a few considerations. At the PD, we realize that people are not numbers, and freedom and privacy is not completely quantitative. We'll be careful not to put a win-lose category or an infinite on any type of an infinite issue, kind of like the war on drugs, so to speak. We must continue to balance constitutional issues with public safety. Remember in a meeting with a bunch of California chiefs, it wasn't the first time that I heard someone caution against using statistics to measure success, and a couple of things came to mind. One is you can have unintended consequences that inadvertently encourage officers to prioritize certain activities such as over-policing. Also, you can rely on the statistics to prioritize quantitative aspects while overlooking the complex nature of qualitative issues. So with that in mind, gathering data is definitely not an issue and something we need to do, and relying on it to measure success can be an issue. So the purpose of gathering data for us is to identify trends and to strategize to prevent crime and reduce crime. So our strategic plan consultant asked a week ago, if you were given all the resources and tools and money that you wanted, could you do your job better? And absolutely, the answer is yes. But in the back of my mind, however, in policing, at what cost? And that's something we always need to think about. So there's an interesting balance between privacy and freedom, and then public safety. And I think the values of your community tell you where that balance lies. And so as we look at these stats, we're always going to keep that in mind. And I also wanted to let you know that we've always understood previously and now that data, that not to use data to put ourselves in a positive light. And a good example of that is if I came in here and say, you know, DUIs are up, because data is interesting. And so DUIs are up this year, so we're working really hard. And the next year DUIs are down. Well, we solved the DUI problem. So when actually we may not be out there working as hard, or we may not be looking at overservice, we may not really be trying to solve the issues at hand. So keeping that in mind, another thing I think we should keep in mind is that the city is, we're not a huge city. We're a small city with big city problems. But when you look at the numbers, and I remember early on in when Chief Bramer or Bob Bramer would provide the statistics to the city manager one time asked back, hey, can I see the number of incidents? Because the percentages are really big. And when he's able to see the incidents, you can actually look. And as we go through these, I want you to look at that. And you probably already have that the percentages can be high, but the incidents, when you look at that, it brings some perspective to it. So if you look at the March crime statistics, the real call out is larceny and theft. So we were about 3% better, but I'll just call that on average. And we're looking at part 1 crimes here, and you can read down that it's murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, theft, and motor vehicle theft. And while some of the numbers are better on the violent crime, and altogether it's down 3%, there's a kind of an alarming number there. While it's only 5, looking at last March, if you look at last month, which it doesn't show up here, it was actually 10 incidents last month. And there's some specifics for that I'll talk about here in a little bit, a specific group, and a lot of shoplifting. And that can be by a specific person. I mean, you can see on the shift reports that we'll have one person every day, the same name, shoplifting, which over a month, that can be a lot of incidents and can. So, and if you look here, March 1, our part 1 crimes in March on a 4-year average. In 2020 and 22, there's some disparities. There's a high in 20 and a low in 22. And the other 3 months are right on average between 56 and 58, which is 57.8 right on average in March as well, of this year and last year, and then in 21. Now the traffic data, the similarities here and the call out I have is March 22, 23, and 24, the 33, 34, and 33, with an average of 29. We're staying pretty consistent. And so we think what needs to happen here, there needs to be some community-led strategy to drive these crashes down. I like how the measurements are March, so we're having the same issues each month, same weather patterns and things of that nature. However, there's a consistency here and something needs to change. And so we're going to look at some community-led programs. And we have some specifically in mind that have come from the community that we are going to try to drive those numbers down. Citations and criminal contacts, they're out there, they're working, doing a good job, but I don't know if there's a laser on here or not, but the call out here is Muni criminal, down 20.4%, not positive. The reason for that, we were discussing it as a group and looking at some of the data. And one of the things that I want to point out currently is our municipal court and the functionality of it and the judge. We've seen some amazing things. There's a lot of meetings, working hard, constantly reaching out to different groups, including the jail, doing, broadcasting it from the jail court. And also we're bringing people here. And so there's a lot of good going on there. And there's actually, we're seeing the effect of a real deterrent in the community, and we're not seeing the same people. And the court's focusing on, 5 or 7 people at a time and making sure that they, as part of their sentence, that they have to maintain a residence if they have a residence, which I thought was unique when I listened one day in court. And And so they're going back home during those times. But I think we're seeing, it's too early to tell, but I think we're seeing some good there. And also the judge is working with community groups and looking for diversion programs, partnering with MANA and Axis, and attended a meeting this last week that was phenomenal, looking for some alternative sentencing and some to really try to help some folks. And so hopefully we'll continue to see those citations, those municipal citations go down. That would be a good thing, I think. Here, so we're looking at the quarterly 23 to 24. And while I would focus on the percentages in the red and the green, I wouldn't focus so much on the percentages. I'd focus more on the incidents, because as we are a small town, a lot of the violent crime, the numbers aren't as high, and there's not a big difference in the numbers, even though you can see 50% on robbery. That's a difference in one incident, obviously, right? Wherein a lot of these statistics are gathered in New York and other places, obviously it'd be different. Now, some of the things that we are looking at intently is shoplifting, for instance, and if it's one person or if it's several people in the different hotspots. We have a hotspot patrol that we conduct. And then burglary and theft from auto. Theft from auto is really big. And this quarter, there was a specific group that was caught, and we're responsible for a lot of that. And then we're looking at another group of car campers as well. And so we added something a little different here. Because it was hard to see from quarter to quarter, even though most of this report is just measuring March and then the last 4 years in March. This is more of a quarterly measurement, so we can see the average throughout all 4 quarters for each year. And for violent crime, we're right on average. And I don't know, I put notes in the PowerPoint. Can you guys see those notes? Maybe that's something I could ask Tom before, but they're nothing different than what I'm probably saying, but I was just curious. Okay, and then property crime is high this quarter, and we've established why in the previous slides, and you can see the average each quarter. And then what this month, there's a call out, which is in purple. And then drugs is, the call out is pretty high. And so this is one of those where, you could say it's bad legislation, or, our folks are working hard, or property crime's up, so this must be up. There's a lot of things you could just look at and make all these assumptions or whatever. And I think the truth behind this one is that we have a grant-funded opioid position that's working with HSI and the drug unit here in town. And so they're making a lot more cases right now. And we were hoping that would drive down property crime, but we're not seeing that. And so we're going to continue to strategize there. Quality life issues were a little above average here. This is trespassing, urination in public, open container, a lot of quality of life issues. And we are a little above average on the first quarter, but not throughout the summer and the rest of the year. DUI is a hard one, as I said before. What are we targeting, and are we focusing elsewhere? Right now, it feels like on the staff reports, as you can see, that somebody's pulling over a DUI almost every night. And we are trying to ratify that behavior by, talking, and the culture by talking to the officers and keeping that culture going. And so we're going to continue to see if we can keep that high arrest rate. And also we're working with the community partners for overservice and things of that nature. Any questions?
Nope, doesn't look like it. Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Bryce. I really like the fact that you were explaining that our municipal judge is kind of like making an impact right now. So I think that's really good on your statistics reporting that, because, before we didn't know how those outcomes were coming. So thank you for that.
Well, we feel like the community was heard, and then we were supported by the council on that. And so we feel like that's making a huge impact. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, Durango 911.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I hope y'all are having a great day. I struggle each month when I get ready to do this update because I'm not sure what y'all would like to see. So if at any point there's something that piques your interest, let us know. I'd like to thank Mayor Buell for coming out and actually doing a little sit-in with us recently and getting to see what we do every day because it's different.
That was so fun. Thank you for having me. And if you haven't been, you should go. It's insane.
It can be insane. Today was an interesting day because they activated the EOC with the Lightner Creek fire. And in the midst of that, Southern Utes phones quit working. And so all of their calls were transferred to us. So we've made it through that and that's a good thing. But statistically, you can see that we count each month how many admin calls, how many 911 calls we handle, the wireless calls, and the number of incidents that we work with, whether they be law or fire. And that's just kind of a quick dashboard to see, where are we? We're pretty consistent with the amount of calls that we're getting. And then our answer times is obviously, that's a national standard from the National Emergency Number Association. And we exceed our goal where that's concerned. The citizen survey we're still conducting, still getting right at 40% return rate. So we're pleased with that. And then monthly, we provide all of our client agencies any feedback that is received. And then quality of improvement, that's how we do a ton of work where that's concerned. That kind of supplements our survey to see what kind of job are we doing. So our operations manager actually takes 2 emergency medical calls, 1 in progress or just occurred law call, 1 fire call, and then for each person and reviews those and then sits down with the person and makes sure we followed all our protocol. In addition to that, they take an hour's worth of radio traffic and listen to that. And on top of that, she also takes any high priority incidents. And just to kind of give you an idea, at the bottom of the slide, you can see, in January, February, and March, those were the CPR assisted calls. Those are dispatcher assisted. In other words, the dispatcher was helping do the CPR over the phone. There are other calls where there may be a bystander on scene that's doing that, but this is what happens, when the dispatcher, and when that happens, that takes that dispatcher out of service because they have to stay on the phone with that person. And then the trauma calls are also a little more time intensive and they take a lot away from, the room environment. And we had, you can see, close to 50 every month. Trauma calls can be things that happen on the ski slopes or somebody is caught in a piece of mechanical equipment. So it takes a lot out of the dispatcher when they have to handle one of those calls. So we do have processes in place to check in with them. We have an early intervention system and we specifically look at trauma calls and we have certain thresholds so that if we can see one dispatcher has handled several over a certain time period, then we do a check-in with them for their mental health and see, do you need a day off or is there anything that we can help you with? And obviously, the city has the EAP and we avail that as well. But we've got a couple of projects in the works. Allison mentioned the HVAC, that is almost completed. They were doing some testing and we were asking about mitigation of outside air control in case we needed, if there was a contaminant or wildfire smoke that we needed to keep out of the building. And then we have a dashboard that we are going to be implementing within the next 4 to 6 weeks where we can supply a little more transparency to our client agencies on call processing times. And that's going to tie directly into a new piece of software that helps us manage calls. So when it comes in, everybody's asking the same questions, processing it in as quick a time as possible and kicking that out to get the response going. So we're really looking forward to doing that in the next 2 to 3 months. And that will give us some more statistics and things that we can share with council and our public so that they know what kind of job we're doing. Any questions?
Doesn't seem that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next up, we have Library Services Department. Luke.
Thank you, and I will keep this report like myself, short and sweet. So this is going to be not just our March numbers, but also our Q1 results. For the first month in a while, we saw an actual decrease in a lot of our numbers from March 2024 to March 2023. Going way back to that last year, it was a huge, almost record-breaking month for us because we had such a brutal winter. And then March, we just saw huge increases. Now, does that mean in April, May, June, we're going to see things kind of slope off? We're not sure yet. We'll follow those trends and keep you updated. We did see some increases in March, but we saw growth in almost all numbers as a quarter. And you can see down there the circulation. We did over 22,000 items in circ in the month of March and almost 70,000 for the quarter, which is 32% over last year. That's a huge jump, even with the increase we saw in March for that. Programming and outreach is just such a great way to get us out of the door and get other people in the door. That picture right there is Kevin, Ann, and Emily. They are our Tamarind Square Senior Outreach. They're about to add a second residence. And I can just tell you, senior outreach is so rewarding because our seniors in our community are often forgotten and ignored. And so they appreciate us bringing books and smiles so very, very much. And that program is Abigail Adams. She did a wonderful program for us, played by Jessica Downing Ford. And what was neat about it is when she was out of character and she told us that she's going to be researching and developing a Colorado character within the next year. So not at this year's Lit Fest, but at next year's, we expect to see her back embodying one of our very own Colorado women. And so we look forward to that. And as you can see, this is where we saw some of the smaller increases over March in the quarter, except in youth services, 25% increase over March, and for the quarter, 35% increase. I've said this before, and I'll say it again now. If we don't plateau this year, services will meet capacity sooner than we originally thought when we did our financial analysis. But we will, of course, keep everyone updated as we get joint sales tax numbers towards the end of this year. And last but not least, next to last, sorry, patron support. That's Jenny Gachter. She's our new youth services supervisor, and we used an image of her for patron support because she has not just hit the ground running, she's hit the ground sprinting, and she seems to have marathon level stamina. So we are just really excited about all the new improvements she's already brought. We saw a real nice increase in card holders. That's one of my favorite stats because every time we get a new card holder, it's like a new family member in the extended family. And that just continues to climb every quarter. And now, last but not least, library space. Visitors is one of the areas where we did not see an increase over Q1. We just saw very close to their Q1 numbers of 2023 because of that crazy, awesome March we had last year. But we did see really nice jumps in our public room use. We have breaking a library record 2 months in a row for the past 2 months, and looks like this might be the 3rd month in a row, and an over 23% increase over the first quarter. We saw ridiculous increases in computer use. Most of that is our wireless use. And that's really great because it shows that people are using the library as their office and their classroom and their home away from home. We're really embodying that third space, the last free space for people to just exist without having to spend money. And it is just almost hard to believe how much that's jumping over last year, which had such great numbers. And you can see there, that's our sad face picture with Donna. This month was her last month working for us, but you will still see her around. She's already started as a volunteer for the Friends of the Library. She couldn't even make it a month. So if you see her going around doing something in the library, she's supposed to be doing that. It's not a psychotic break. It's good news. And we're so welcome to see her continuing the service after 17 years. She couldn't even take a break for a month. So it's just such a testament to her character and her level of service to this community. And if you have no questions, I'll hand it over. All right.
All right, next up, we have environmental sustainability and resilience with Marty.
Good afternoon, Mayor Council. Wanted to give an update this month on some of the water analysis that we've been doing out of the sustainability division. And heading into the summer season seems quite appropriate. Oh man, that really just sensitive. Anyway, quick background for those of you that aren't familiar. Hopefully you are. We have 2 water sources for the city of Durango. We're unique in that way. We primarily pull from the Florida River and then supplement during high use times from the Animas River. And then also, as you know, are exploring the potential for a 3rd source and storage opportunities coming from water rights out of Lake Nighthorse. Looking at historical community-wide consumption, we are down compared to some historical amounts, but over the past several years have been pretty flat in terms of our water consumption. And this is both treated water, and we have some areas that are irrigated with raw water. Another look at that data shows our summertime peak. So this is primarily driven by irrigation needs, but also some increase from increased, maybe second homeowners or visitors coming in, which have a larger population in the summer. Looking at our community, and again, this is community-wide consumption. I'll take a moment to say the typical measurement for water is in 1,000 gallons, or kgals is the terminology. So you'll see that throughout the slide. Looking at our total community-wide water consumption, we use 1.23 billion gallons of water every year. And that's broken down about 50-50 between outdoor use and indoor use. That outdoor use includes that raw water irrigation for certain sites in our community. Diving in a little bit further, if we look at just the city of Durango municipal operations, what we are responsible for in our water use, you'll see a vast majority of that is used for parks irrigation. That's not surprising. It takes a lot of water to keep those facilities as high quality as they are. And then also that gray slice is building and facility use, but that also includes some irrigation at sites. So for instance, the library lawn or irrigation at other sites. So about 85% of the city's use as a municipality goes towards outdoor irrigation. And overall, the city uses about 10% of community-wide water. Looking at another perspective on our water consumption as a community, single-family home accounts are about 1/3 of all water consumption here in Durango. And I think this is an opportunity to share what the consumption looks like, what median and average consumption looks like, and the trend that we see across resource consumption, where you have kind of an exponential increase from those highest users. This is not unique to Durango, and this is actually not unique to water use. In a lot of resource consumption analysis, you see kind of this exponential effect of the highest users really using multiple times more than average. So the median household in Durango uses 58 kgals a year, 58,000 gallons a year. That's right around the average for Colorado. It's a little, lower than some communities, higher than others. And then as you can see, that top 5% is when you really see those much higher uses. The trend is even more pronounced on when you look at commercial accounts. This is about 50% of all uses. And the median commercial account uses 82 kgals a year, 82,000 gallons. The top 5% are using thousands of kgals, so millions of gallons of water a year. I think in both these instances, this is not to say that these sites are necessarily being wasteful. These could be very large sites, users that need water for certain commercial or industrial purposes. So they are going to use more than just like a dentist's office or something like that. But again, just interesting and important to note the trends that we see in water consumption across the city of Durango. And what is this analysis? Why are we doing this analysis out of the sustainability office and working with our public utilities and parks divisions and departments? What's the point? Well, we want to make sure that we're benchmarking and using this data to show that we're engaging in best practices around how we're managing water as a community. It's important information for any potential water rate analysis or review or updates to our water pricing or rates. It can inform targeted efficiency programs and especially programs which look at water use for a unique sector of our community. And then, of course, looking where we can improve our infrastructure to prevent leaks or other inefficiencies. And any other questions? I don't know why it's in here twice. I'll cycle through for Elliot. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Marty. That was a good report. And I am concerned about the water. And I was curious, okay, for the golf course, do they have any gray water usage up there, you know, for watering their fairways and so forth?
The golf course is one of the sites that utilizes raw water. So rather than coming in being treated at our water treatment plant, it comes in directly from the Florida pipeline and then is used on the golf course. To my knowledge, I don't know of any gray water use. They wouldn't have a lot of gray water production. It would just be out of their clubhouse. So it wouldn't really.
Okay, so they're just using raw water. Okay.
Raw water.
And also I was concerned because I was listening to KSUT this morning. They were talking about the water flow and the rivers, and they're all of them across the board are down. Are we to be concerned about the water continuing to go down or this early?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So you may recall Allison Baker, our Public Works Director, gave a presentation a number of months ago about the historical and future projections of our water supply. And those are projected to go down on average year after year due to climate change and other impacts. And so when we see a flat consumption across our community, really what that means is we're not keeping up. Would be beginning to exceed our supplies. Now that's not to say that we're going to run out of water tomorrow or next year or even in the coming years. We have available supply, but sustainability principles would say that we should keep our consumption in line with a decreasing projected supply.
Any other questions for Marty? All right, thank you. Okay, next up, financial excellence, high performing government with Elliot.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our monthly financial services update from the Finance and Budget Department. I'm Elliot Fitz, and we always like to start with the mission, vision, and values, excuse me. Really look forward to presenting with you today. Thank you. So to start, we just did we're following up on the presentation that we did last month with some of the forecasts that we've done. So we did not show this specific forecast, but this is just a sales tax forecast for all of the sales tax that we received for the city of Durango. In March, we were at 1% revenue variance, and it was 1% above our above our forecast. Year to date, we're about 7.5% above our projected forecast, but it is something that we're going to continually monitor as it is such an important revenue source for the city. But to date, we are trending well. This is one that we reviewed last month again. So just the general fund projected revenues to expense, and that one is about 6.5% above. In March, you might remember that we were right on at about 0.03% variance last month. So again, things trending as we predict seasonally. And again, it is our biggest fund and we will monitor it very closely. For expenses, just as we talked last month, for expenses can be a little bit more challenging to forecast it with this model just because material supplies, projects, that sort of thing can change year over year. Generally speaking, though, with everything that we budgeted for in expenses, the fact that they are coming in below budget is a good thing. And we just actually are finishing up our monthly reports, our monthly meetings with all the departments this month, where we're doing line item reviews and going through with all the departments that we didn't have too many concerns. So I think we're tracking along very well there as well. This is a little bit different, so we wanted to call out enterprise funds just to highlight them a little bit, since they are more fee for service driven. So their seasonally adjusted projections are about 1% below what we had forecasted. So that is something that we're measuring. Enterprise funds generally, again, because they are more of a fee for service, if their revenue is lower, it generally means that their operation is a little lower as well. But being within 1% of our variance, we feel pretty comfortable with where we're at. And this is the enterprise fund projected expense to actuals. So we did start the year just a little high and have come down. And we aren't exactly tracking along the trend that we had predicted with the historical data, but we are right within the margin that we expect. And again, being below our expense projection is generally a very good thing. So we will continue to monitor, but we feel very comfortable with where we're at today. For capital projects, the revenue to actuals, the largest, we do have about a 29% variance on this one. The revenue generally happens when we also accrue expenses. So we're transferring from the operating accounts to the capital accounts as we accrue expenses. So as you'll see on the next slide, we are picking up in expenses, and it's mostly an accounting function to make those transfers. And here's that next slide. So again, just to touch on the large negative spike, just like we did, that is just an accounting function of moving things from the income statement to the balance sheet. But we do have statistical measures to make sure that we account for that. And capital projects are progressing. They've leveled out a little bit, but we do expect them to pick up as the months go on and it's warmer here in Durango. And other financial services updates, we are still working hard on the audit. Thanks to you all, we were able to pass the grant and capital project amendment. We continue to work on those. Thank you very much for your partnership in that. Fleet and facilities, we had 21 building requests completed and 60 fleet work orders completed. So that is almost 2 a day for the fleet work orders. So we highlighted it last month, and we're going to highlight it again. Those guys are absolutely cranking over there. They're doing a great job. So thanks to Jason and his crew. We have also completed the initial stage of our warehouse reorganization. So that is a pretty large project that we took on at the beginning of the year to completely reorganize their warehouse, and first phase is done. For customer service, the food tax rebate and utility refund is open until July 5th. And we have had 31 recipients of the utility fund rebate, totaling about $8,400, and 106 food tax rebate recipients, totaling almost $18,000. And that concludes the financial services update. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Excellent. Any questions? All right, perfect. Next up, we have engaged in collaborative governance, community engagement with Clancy.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. Good afternoon. My name is Clancy Nixon. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist, and this is the Community Engagement Monthly Report. Start off with last month, we hosted the Police Department City Hall Public Forum presenting the interior conceptual design. That was on April 30th. We had about 15 folks show up. It was a little bit of a lighter showing than our first meeting. 5 of those folks were new. We also slated a virtual meeting for May 2nd that actually we canceled that the day before. We only had 2 registrations, so still trying to find that sweet spot for that virtual forum. We had it midday, so still searching around for that sweet spot, like I said. Feedback received was very, very positive. We had most folks saying that they would like the design to reflect the history of that building in some way or some fashion was kind of the overwhelming theme. Survey responses from that meeting, 100% of folks said that they would attend a public meeting again. So that keeps us at 100% for all of our meetings, which is nice. We also, in addition to the focus groups that we had a couple months ago, about 6 weeks ago, we received feedback from 185 people during those focus groups, but we also sent out surveys for stakeholder groups. You all received those. Hopefully that link is working. StratX was the one who was sending out those links. We extended the deadline from May 3rd. We pushed that out a little bit farther since it was a little bit of a slow start. Engage Durango, our website, is gaining some traction, it seems like. So some numbers there, hopefully in the next time that you see me in the study session, it'll be in July, not June. You'll have some more visual data for you. But right now we have for April, 2,678 views is what our numbers were at through April 30th. Over 2,000 visits, 1,500 visitors, 62 contributions already to the website, 53 contributors, 32 followers for 12 projects, and 42 folks are currently registered for the website. So we're working on moving departmental projects over to this webpage, to the Engage Durango, so we don't have two places for departmental projects. So just so you know, that's where we'll house those. It seems like people are really liking the website, and we look forward to being able to move things over. Like from our meeting that we had for Police Department City Hall, we moved over the slideshow, the presentation recording, all that fun stuff. So feel free to check it out. Upcoming engagement opportunities that we have the Forestry Management Plan meeting that's coming up on the 15th next week, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Rec Center, and it's going to be online as well, so a hybrid meeting. We have the Engage Durango Forum on May 28th. That is going to be all about capital improvement projects for 2025 for design and construction phases from 5 to 6:30 at the library. Again, we have the Engage Durango website for engagement. And then we also have an additional meeting. The Animas View Drive community meeting will be on May 22nd at the Rec Center from 5:30 to 7. Some additions that we have since the creation of the slideshow. I just wanted to give you an update. I'm currently thinking through and researching the best way to revamp the Community Relations Commission. And so I plan to have a recommendation to you all, hopefully in that July study session or council meeting. Tonight, I also wanted to give you a heads up. We received notification that we're going to have folks joining us, some community members who are Spanish-speaking individuals, joining us for our council meeting this evening. They're going to need interpretation services, and they're going to be offering public comment during the non-agenda item section. I just wanted to give you the heads up on that. Because of the interpretation piece, we're doing what's called it's consecutive interpretation rather than simultaneous interpretation for the folks who are going to be here if they show up in person. It's going to eat up a lot more time. So I would just respectfully ask that you consider a little bit more time for that public comment section if they do step up to the mic. Okay, and that's all I've got. Any
Excellent.
questions?
Thank you. Any questions? All right. And then we have Visit Durango update from Rachel.
Right. Last but hopefully not least, good afternoon, Mayor Buell and councilors. I am Rachel Brown, she, hers, Executive Director of Visit Durango, and I'm here today to present our 2023 year in review report. So unlike the other presentations you've seen this afternoon that were for a month or a quarter, this is the full year of data for Visit Durango. And if you'd like to scan the QR code, or anyone in the audience, you can find the full PDF report, and then you all have the printed copy as well. A little further background on Visit Durango, our organization. We're a 501c6 nonprofit DMMO, or Destination Management and Marketing Organization. And in case you didn't know, Visit Durango is funded primarily through the lodger's tax from the city of Durango and La Plata County. From the recent city ballot language, 55% of lodger's tax is designated for sustainable tourism marketing, including advertising and attracting conferences, conventions, and meetings. And several counselors were involved in crafting this important ballot language. And kudos to you, as Durango is one of the first destinations in the world to lock in its commitment to destination management by putting the word sustainable in the ballot language. Additionally, we are one of the only destination organizations in the country that is a destination management and marketing organization. And Visit Durango is recognized globally as a trailblazer and a thought leader in the sustainable tourism space. It's an exciting time for Durango. Thanks to your leadership, the city has completed the 10-year Destination Management Master Plan. Between this plan and Visit Durango's advancement, I'm confident that we can create a thriving destination and protect our community for generations to come. And I will jump in. I'd like to highlight an important project that our board completed last year. Tucked into your packets, you should each have a copy of the strategic brief, and you can also find that on our website. It's a very important piece of this new 5-year plan, and an important piece of that was the updated vision and mission statements. The new versions of these statements better align with our values as an organization and also the direction that we have received from you all and city staff on emphasizing focus on residents and quality of life. So our updated mission, Visit Durango serves La Plata County by channeling the power of visitation. And our updated vision, Visit Durango inspires our community to find balance and make La Plata County an inviting place to live and visit. La Plata County, of course, includes Durango. Also in the brief, you'll see 6 major goals identified, but there's one primary goal that will serve as our guiding light for the next 5 years, and that is optimize impact, improve the positive impacts, and decrease the negative impacts that visitors and tourism-related businesses have in the following areas: natural environment, economic vitality, culture, and community. So you can see the triple bottom line of sustainability there. And then the other goals in the plan include grow year-round visitation, elevate stewardship, promote destination inclusivity, create local tourism champions, and enhance partner relations. I think most of the residents of Durango understand that Visit Durango uses lodgers tax to maintain visitation and bring an economic impact, but I know you all get asked by your constituents, what else does Visit Durango and tourism do for the community? So here are a few examples. Last year, we awarded $400,000, oops, sorry. Oh, here we go. Last year, we awarded $400,000 in grants to local organizations addressing issues including workforce training, housing solutions, and trail maintenance. We create, support, and market local events that residents love. More on that later. We provide marketing support for 400 to 500 tourism-related businesses and nonprofits in Durango. The Welcome Center provides a community gathering place and public restrooms for downtown, which might not be glamorous, but it is very important. Between the Welcome Center and the management staff, we employ 17 locals and many local contractors as well. And our staff serve on many boards and volunteer for local organizations, including the City of Durango's new Community Development Commission and the Durango Creative District. And of course, we provide guidance and support for the largest sector of the economy, which in turn creates a vibrant place to not only live and visit, but also work, start a business, or enroll in college. And if you weren't aware, as part of the Destination Management Master Plan that the City commissioned, there were 2 background studies as part of that research, a quality of life study and an economic impact study. And I included a few excerpts from those studies, which I thought were important. The results indicate there is a positive relationship between a strong tourism sector and higher quality of life for locals. Without jobs supported by visitors, the unemployment rate would more than triple. And without such strong support from the visitor economy, numerous restaurants, entertainment venues, and shops that serve local community would have to close. And a few more highlights and some screenshots from the economic impact study. This is for 2022. The total economic impact in Durango was $441 million. And the amount of that was direct visitor spending was $328 million. Tourism generated over 3,200 jobs and over $42 million in state and local taxes. And you can see from the chart that visitor spending took an expected dip during the pandemic, but rebounded quickly and is now at record levels. And if you look at visitor spending by category over on the right, you may be surprised to see that food and beverage is actually the largest spending category for our visitors. So our visitors are hungry and thirsty. We share hotel and short-term rental statistics because they are an important indicator of the health of the tourism industry. It's also important to remember that the higher these numbers go, the more lodgers tax is collected, which means more funding for not just sustainable tourism marketing, but also arts and culture, transportation, etc. Of the 68 total properties, there was a 65% occupancy rate. Hotels made an average of $95 per nightly stay. Keep in mind the vast majority of hotels are located within city limits, where short-term rentals, on the other hand, are mostly in the county. A total of 2,128 rentals within the county. Occupancy rate for those was 53%. Last year, we began working with Zartico, which tracks visitor location based on cell phone usage and credit card spend. To view the dashboard, you can go to durango.org/dashboard. One cool feature of Zartico is that they provide case studies for specific events that have videos that allow us to view visitor patterns throughout the Durango area. So now I'll play one of those videos and show key insights surrounding the 4th of July, 2023 and the 5 days surrounding it. You can see the visitor dispersal shown on the map through dots. The white dots represent the highest density of visitors, and you see a lot of traffic going to the North County, Bayfield, and the reservation. You might be wondering why it's important to see the visitors are dispersing throughout the county. Well, part of Visit Durango's strategy is to promote Durango as a hub and spoke to explore nearby attractions, which brings in more revenue for Durango, but also helps spread visitors throughout the region. Imagine how overcrowded we would be in summer if all these dots stayed in downtown all day long. Yikes. And you'll see in the full year in review report, we have 3 other case studies for the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally, San Juan Brewfest, and Snowdown. A few other highlights from Zartico. Outdoor recreation is the #1 driver of visitation to the area. Autumn saw the greatest amount of growth for visitor spending last year, so yay for off-peak promotions there. Our top 3 origin markets are Denver, Albuquerque, and Phoenix. 38% of all spending at our restaurants is from visitors, and 35% of all spending at our retail stores is from visitors. So that's a good reminder that visitors don't just contribute to lodgers tax, they're also contributing to sales tax. In 2021, City Council created a lodgers tax policy that identified how the 55% for sustainable tourism marketing would be spent. And 75% is spent on the contracted organization for sustainable tourism marketing, and 25% is spent on local event marketing. Visit Durango gets the greatest amount of return on investment for local event dollars and keeps the majority of the funds in the local community in 2 different ways. The first is through the lodgers tax local event marketing grants, and the second is our signature local event campaigns. These two strategies account for about 90% of that total local event marketing budget. And the grants program is a strategic initiative designed to support and promote local events, thereby enhancing cultural vibrancy and tourism appeal to the area. Over the course of the year, our event grants committee gave out $265,000 to 97 different local events. Grants were used by event organizers for marketing purposes, like buying ad space, hiring photographers. And here is just some of the 97 that received the grant. It includes large historic events like Snowdown and many smaller startup gatherings. We're also very proud of our signature local event campaigns. With these, we create a programmatic event branding and marketing campaign that serves as the promotional umbrella for businesses in Durango to publicize their own events and promotions. So the first of those was Durango Restaurant Week, which was in April with 24 restaurants participating. We just wrapped up the second year of that last month. Also in its first year was Durango Arts Week, September 15th to the 24th. 75 events in total for that one, including workshops, classes, gallery showings. That event was so successful that we'll actually be extending it to a full month this year. So keep an eye out for Durango Arts Month. And our second annual Spoketober ran in October, 35 events in total, including group rides, bike swaps, parades, and more. And lastly was Holiday Station, ran through the holiday season. 54 events in total, including bazaars, caroling events, and shopping specials. And part of what makes these campaigns so successful is our collaborative partners who help us come up with marketing concepts and recruit businesses to participate. So some major partners to mention include the Durango chapter of the Colorado Restaurant Association, the Durango Creative District, and the Business Improvement District. And now I'll touch on destination management. Destination management as a field looks at items such as social systems, built environments like roads, and the natural environment, and how visitors and residents interact and move within each of these systems. It may be helpful to note there's many different ways to refer to this concept. I know it can get a little confusing. Destination management, sustainable tourism marketing, regenerative tourism, responsible tourism, stewardship. These are all terms that we use to refer to this. Some highlights of this department last year include the progress on the Dark Skies certification for the city of Durango to enhance our astrotourism. And new last year was the Destination Advancement Grant. The overarching goal of the grant was to promote Durango as a socially and environmentally sustainable destination to live and visit, and it funds tourism-related businesses or programs that are helping the tourism workforce with environmental or cultural advancement programs. The committee gave out $135,000 to 13 businesses, and a few examples include Table to Farm Composting, Chimayo, Mana, Esoterra, Public House 701, and Southwest Home Share. Here's what the marketing content looked like in 2023. Keep in mind, this is a very small sample. We produced over 1,500 pieces last year. An important note for sustainable tourism marketing, we do run seasonal campaigns, but only for spring, fall, and winter visitation. We do not promote added visitation during summer, our peak season, as part of our destination management strategy. And our stewardship campaign promoted responsible recreating and sustainability messaging all year long, encouraging both visitors and residents to be responsible trail users and respect the natural environment. This campaign was developed in partnership with San Juan Mountain Associations and Durango Trails. And this slide also includes some press clippings over on the right, which were the result of our PR efforts. Highlight was the New York Post article, which was online and in the Sunday print paper edition, resulting in readership of about 59 million. It was a result of us hosting a journalist, Winston Ross, in October with a mountain biking focused itinerary. And the article features the Leland House, El Moro, Durango Hot Springs, and Lola's Place. And some other notable coverage from last year included USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Travel and Leisure, Outside Magazine, Condé Nast Traveler, and over 300 more. In 2023, we attended a variety of travel trade shows, worked with tour operators, and submitted RFPs that brought in business to Durango during the off-season. Some of the notable meeting RFPs we submitted last year that ended up winning us business, which came this year, were DCI, Downtown Colorado Inc. Conference, which took place in April, and the Grand Circle Association meeting, which was also in April at the Strader. Visit Durango sales strategy focuses on promoting longer stays for maximum economic impact, directing operators and planners to lesser visited areas to prevent overcrowding, and leveraging the 3 other points on the slide to appeal to various tour operators and meeting planners and align with the city's goals for destination management. And we're also working closely with the Colorado Tourism Office to develop promotions for rebounding international markets. And here's an example of a video we created for our presentations to the international tour operators and travel journalists during a mission with the Colorado Tourism Office. And lastly, a quick recap of activity from the Durango Welcome Center. Last year, we welcomed 28,310 people through the doors of the Welcome Center. The #1 origin state of visitors that came into the center is Colorado. Our visitor services staff get asked a lot of questions, but the most asked topics are restaurants, local events, and hiking. Hiking is by far the #1 most frequently asked about topic. So this is a great opportunity to educate our visitors on safe backcountry recreating and leave no trace principles. And from a visitor survey we conducted last year, we learned that of visitors who went to the Welcome Center during their visit, they are over 2 times more likely to be planning a return visit to Durango within the next 24 months. 2 times more likely than those who did not go into the Welcome Center. So the Welcome Center is a great tool for marketing for repeat visitation. We have 8 part-time staff who work at the Welcome Center, and they're a very loyal crew, so much so that 3 of our team have been with the company for over 10 years. So a quick thank you and congrats to Claudia, Kay, and Renee, our members of the Over a Decade Club. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions and feedback from the presentation or in general. Visit Durango wants to be collaborative in how we shape the tourism industry of tomorrow. I realize you all are at the end of your meeting, so maybe some questions for you to ponder a bit more. What do you hope for the future of Durango's tourism industry? Is there anything you would like to see done differently with Visit Durango's portion of the lodger's tax? And I mentioned our 5-year goals earlier. I think they align very well with the goals outlined in the city's DMMP, but is there anything you would edit or add? And since you're perhaps out of time today, I'd be happy to schedule some one-on-ones to follow up further. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Rachel. Do we have any questions from council right now?
I don't have any questions, but I do like the murals that are being painted around town. You know, whoops, the murals that are getting painted, and that's through your granting, right?
That is through the Lodgers Tax Arts and Culture Grant, which I believe was being managed by Tommy Crosby, and now the Creative District is involved. Visit Durango actually is not involved in that grant.
So, yeah, the Creative Economy Commission does that, and we've done it for 3 years, yes. And Tommy Crosby leads the Creative Economy Commission, and I think you sit on it now, and I sat in on the first year,
Yeah,
and
okay,
it's
good,
amazing.
but I really
I
like
think
this.
$1 million have been put into various projects. Yeah.
And it
that's
is
great.
funded through Lodgers Tax, so yeah.
It's the 11%. Nailed it.
Okay, well, thank you for your report. I really liked the video.
Sorry?
I really liked your video.
Oh, thank you.
I'll just say thank you, yeah, for pivoting and, always including, as we change things and want more brought into local and more shoulder season and more sustainable practices, like you have always pivoted and listened to some suggestions of council. And so I do appreciate that for sure. Any
course.
other from council online? All right, there you go. Thank you. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.